How you guys doing today? Yes, we are doing our tier list for the imprints when it comes to the GODFORGE quests, and we're going to be using the Raven Pirates website. And just like before, like we always do, we are going to be using the status and imprint effects. So if you guys are wanting to know what these do, we will be talking about all of them because there is a shit ton of these, let's be real. But these do make an impact on these different types of imprints. And just to kind of clarify any imprint, just so you guys know, a lot of these have been updated, so we should have the most up-to-date imprints for them. But if we don't, what we will be doing, a big shout out to obviously my Pantheon, Camp Half-Blood, Zombie, and Mr. Mo have done this amazing document, as you can see, where you can see up to all of the heroes to Zeus at the moment with their up-to-date actual imprints that we can be getting, right? So we're going to go through all of these imprints all the way down, and we're going to give you guys my quick kind of opinion on them, and when it needs to, give you a little bit of extra details and tips and tricks with them. So you know what we do here, guys. Smash a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to join Camp Half-Blood, my amazing Pantheon, with the adventures of Adam and other amazing content creators like Bradbod Gaming as well, check out down in the description down below, because we're all a part of it, and you can join us too, because we've got plenty of spaces in there. So with that, let's talk about some good old imprints. Let's do this GODFORGE tier list, because there is going to be a precedent set here, right? How am I going to rank my imprints? So all I'm going to tell you is S and A tier. If you see any imprint in there, you can pick it up, basically, in GODFORGE quests. You can pick it up, and it's going to be good for you in the right scenarios, as long as you listen to the explanation. B tiers are okay kind of imprints where, yeah, there might be great stepping stones, but you might see A tiers or S tier imprints that are doing similar effects, but just at a better rate. C tiers are going to be more like niche kind of playstyle. So if you're going down a certain playstyle, C is probably going to be your boat. So this means if you're going down a pure Blaze team, maybe you're trying to play pure defenders, C is going to be your category. So keep an eye out on there, because they're going to be really good imprints, but for that type of team. D is pretty simple. Do not touch these. I just don't think they're good for multiple of reasons, including one of the things that happened recently in the GODFORGE update video. As you can see, there was a massive video came out with all of these different updated new keywords and basically changes to buffs, debuffs, and disables that you need to pay attention to. Because of that, it really did impact on how we are going to evaluate some of these kits, because these buffs, like precision, really does make certain imprints just not as good as they once were. And I do hope the devs take this into consideration and maybe change some of the imprints, maybe just as a heads up for them, right? So let's go. Let's start this tier list. Hopefully now guys now understand what we're doing, and again we'll be going through all the information to help you with it. So we'll start off with Anubis and Aphrodite, and the thing is, both of these heroes are going to be quite not insane to pick, but Anubis is going to be one of those heroes that will set the baseline. This is kind of just a good imprint that you can put on any hero, right? When a hero is defeated, increase this hero's turn meter by 10%. It doesn't matter who, doesn't matter how, doesn't matter where, right? As long as you've got this imprint on whoever you need it on, when your team kills the enemy, you're getting turn meter. Boom, 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 boom. Because of that, it's a pretty good jack of all trades turn meter generator, and I actually like that because of that. I'm going to put it in the B tier to set the tone, and maybe it will go up in the tiers later on. But you got to remember, this is the one turn meter effect compared to any of the ones that we'll go over that's quite easy to pull off. And again, it's so easy to put on any hero and take advantage of, right? So gaining 10% turn meter through AoE kills, join attacks, counter attacks, and your teammates could be doing it, and you get the benefit. is fantastic. Aphrodite, though, is going to be a little bit of a sad one because allies gain 1% turn meter when inflicting damage to an enemy. The effect is doubled on allies who are under speed up 2 and initiative up 2. This is going to be one of the first ones where I'm going to be real. Aphrodite is in the C tier. She's the one imprint, again, where you might put it on herself, maybe certain other heroes, but it's because you've got to put speed up 2 and initiative up 2 on your team. And to me, that is just too much requirement and too much work. I know Aphrodite does this, but if you don't have Aphrodite that can do this, you're needing to find one hero that can find speed up 2 and another hero that can be initiative 2, which is taking up 2 slots just to get this to work. And to me, that's just too much effort for a 1% and basically 2% extra turn meter when damaging an enemy compared to just when anyone is dead, we just get 15%/10% that's on our spreadsheet here, right? So straight away, these two are going to go to B and C tier. Now we've got Artemis and Athena, and this is easily going to set the tone again and showcase the difference, in my opinion, on good actual imprints. Artemis, after defeating an enemy, you increase the next attack by 25% increased damage. It's as simple as that. And an attack means basically your basic or core ability, right? Your main attacks, right? And it will say attack, right? For it. That is insane. People don't realize how good this ability is. Because you got to think now, when we look at certain heroes on the tier list, right? We've got heroes like Grendel. We've got heroes like Sizzin. We've got heroes like Zeus, right? We've got heroes even like... I'm trying to think who else is a really good example of this. I think they're like the top 3 to note. But you got to think, each one of those heroes have something in common. Which is, if I kill someone with Grendel or Zeus, I take an extra turn. And because I take an extra turn, my next attack is going to do 25% more. So I should be able to kill and chain attack into attack, into attack, into attack. It's basically the enabler for those high DPS chain kill extra turn comps, which I think is freaking sick. But it also helps Sizzins and Guan Yus and you name it, because what you can also do is area of effect damage. And if you AoE someone and then they die, the next time you AoE, they're doing even more damage. What's even worse about it is if you're doing AoEs or normal attacks with Zeus and Grendel, and you start to join attack with Aphrodites, Shamashas, Vivians, right? Any of them, just basically any joint attackers in the game, even like the Bork imprint, which was the rare imprint from Alpha Wave 3, which give you, I think, a 25% chance to counterattack. Doubt that's still going to be in the game, but if it is, hey up, you've got a really good one there. But those type of attacks and being able to attack again means when you join that attack, it's doing 25% more and you get to kill them and then it's your turn. And guess what? We get to do 25% more. So if you've not guessed it, Artemis straight away is in the A tier. I am almost ready to put her in the S tier just because of how good a DPS option this imprint is, right? And how versatile you really can use on any of these DPS based comps for your team. And this is either extra turn comps, area of effects comps, you name it, joint attack comps. We can go all day, right? Same with Athena now. Athena, each time this hero is attacked under shield, you heal 25% of the damage inflicted to the shield. If the shield is depleted or removed, you have a 50% chance to place Petrify on the enemy for 1 turn. The issue is, this is again, each time this hero is attacked under a shield, this is an individual buff on this, right? Which catch people out, because if the imprint was, if you have it equipped and you get hit with a shield, you heal everyone, everyone would be absolutely buzzing, right? But it's not. It's each time this hero is attacked under shield, heal for 25% of the damage inflicted to the shield, compared to how Athena does it, which heals everyone around, right? The thing is, though, it's still a good imprint. This is a really good imprint for basically any defender, and even heroes like Isis in theory in the game, because you got to think, anyone that plays as a shield can shield their entire team, and if they put Taunt on themselves or whatever it is on themselves, while they've got that shield up, this imprint is going to be healing them up, so the invoker that needs to be mending or burst healing the team isn't under as much stress, right? The real cool part is you do maintain the depletion of shields. You get that 50% chance to petrify, which is going to be quite powerful. So because of this, do you know what? I'm going to put Artemis in the S tier, and then Athena, I think it's going to go in the A tier. I was almost going to swap these two around and do this, but now the more I've been thinking about it, and especially someone like me that likes to speedrun the content and try to get through as much of the content as possible, I would rather have this ability on the right hero than anything else, because this just can go crazy. Like, it could just go crazy if you can just chain it into each other, while this is just healing the individual if they've got a shield on, which is nice. Don't get me wrong, it's a great imprint, but I don't think it's one that's going to take the cake, as I will say. Moving on, there's Kamatos and Sizin. Kind of two, again, similar ones. When his hero inflicts a critical hit, you steal 2.5% turn meter, and if you strong hit, you steal a further 2.5% turn meter. So you're stealing 5% turn meter on critical hits, as well as a strong critical hit, basically. So if you do a strong critical hit, you are going to steal 5% turn meter. And I know it sounds quite hard, but we need to bring it back to here, because precision is now in the game, and it guarantees strong hits. So any hero that can place precision, especially supports that can place precision on the right hero, you don't need to worry about strong hit percentage chance anymore, because you've got it. You can now guarantee in your gear 100% crit chance, place the precision on them to get the combo and get that rolling. Is it going to be super powerful, though, is my question. And I was thinking about it, and the more you can steal turn meter is quite nice. It's 5% steal if we can keep doing it. But we need to be building the right team in order to do it. And that's where my issue is with Kamatos. This is one of those ones where, yeah, I think this is a really powerful ability, but we need a team to build around it. And in the early game of GODFORGE, you're not going to have that luxury. You might be able to do it in the mid and late game, 100%, but when you first start the adventure off, Kamatos isn't going to be that one where I think you're going to be rolling it. The only time it is if you literally roll like a Kamatos imprint with a support that guarantees this precision onto a target, and then you get a really powerful legendary weapon that you can put. It might work. The only other thing that I can say that is really good with the Kamatos imprint here, and this is one thing that, again, you can check out yourselves, is if you go to the weapons, there is a purple weapon everyone should know, that's on everyone's radar, especially mine, called the Golden Bow. Golden Bow gains 10% crit rate, so you get that crit rate in, so you only need to build 90% in your gear, but then you get critical attacks heal the hero for 5% of the damage inflicted. That's pretty good. That is pretty good, especially when we are stealing it, right? So if we can put the Golden Bow on with the Kamatos, well, we're getting crits now, we're stealing turn meter, and when we crit, we heal as well? Like, that is a nice combination of a purple weapon with a legendary imprint that you could be looking at, and it just works together, and you can put this on DPSs and let them DPSs do their things, right? So, overall, I actually think this might be a B tier imprint, where it's going to be good. I think it's going to be potentially better than the one of your Anubis, only because this is 5% every time we inflict a strong critical hit. If we can guarantee that through precision team play, as well as obviously the other stuff, which I think you can do quite easily, you're going to be able to get this up more often. And in any sort of joint attacks you do now, yeah, we're cooking with gas. We're cooking with gas. So I quite like it. So I'll put them both in B tier. I think both are solid imprints. Same with Sizzing. If an enemy is under acid, you reduce their incoming healing by 25%. I'm going to be honest, it's a fair and good imprint. If I want to put it on, sure, but I don't think it's going to break the bank. And the reason is, again, when we go to be honest, these types of buffs. When you go down, if you really want to do this, just find one hero with curse. One hero with a curse 1 does the exact same effect without the imprint. Curse 2 now does 50%. And I would rather place a curse 2 buff and then have some sort of imprint that rewards placing debuffs or rewards doing something else than placing a imprint that does something already. Do you get what I'm saying? It feels like it does something already. So it's kind of in this like B tier zone, right? Unfortunately. Moving on to D though, and this is going to be maybe the first shocker of everyone. Dracula. Moving down, at the start of the enemy's turn, if the enemy are under bleed, increase the damage of his hero's next attack by 5%. I am just not interested in that. I am sorry to say, even for the bleed comps, I know you can effectively keep this bleed up on your team. But again, why would I care about 5% damage buff? There's gonna be better damage buffs in the game. You know what I mean? A really good example of this, just to put it in perspective. Would you rather have a 5% extra damage on the next hero's attack if the enemy is under bleed, which is a requirement, right? This is a requirement to be. You need this condition in order to receive the buff. Would you rather have that, or would you rather have this? To me, I would rather have Giant Slayer. It is a 15% increased damage to brawlers and bosses. It's as simple as that. I get literally 10% more damage anytime I kill brawlers, which there's a shit ton in the game, but more importantly, bosses. And the thing is, bleed is pretty good at boss fights. So why would you waste 5% damage here when we can get 15% damage over here? And it's just on. It is just on. We don't need to worry about the bleed. We don't need to worry about anything else. It's just on. So to me, it's just D tier, guys. And I'm sorry for the Dracula mains out there. His imprint is good for himself and with his kit, but it's not a good imprint that you're going to be, wanting to lose sleep over and lock in during the GODFORGE quests. Enki, on the other hand, might be. And this is going to be a really weird one because it is, I believe, eternal hero in the game. You increase healing from Mend by 25%, and at the start of this hero's turn, activate Mend on this hero. This is actually a really powerful ability. And again, when it comes to like the weapons that you've got, there's Grail, which increases all outgoing healing sources by 20%. So if you get the Grail early on, then get this imprint, which most people could be looking at, well, you're increasing Mend by 45%. And then on top of that, you are activating Mend on the hero. So what's really good is I could place this imprint on a hero like my Apollo, Isolde, right? And it's Isis as well. All of these heroes will be able to place Mend, get more benefit out of that Mend, value healing, and again, heal themselves. So it's actually a pretty good one that I have been keeping an eye on. And if you guys are wondering, I do have it locked at the moment on my GODFORGE quests while I have the Sun Wukong imprint chosen. So how good is this going to be, though, in the long scheme of things? I reckon it's still an A tier. I think it's just as good as this Athena one, if not better. And it could be S tier too, just because you're increasing the healing of Mend, and you're activating Mend on the hero. And the fact that like you're mending the entire team, do you know what? Yeah, no, I'm going to put this S tier. I'm actually going to put this S tier. It's one of the few abilities in the game which isn't individually buffed. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not if my mends are better. It's not saying my mend is 25% better. My whole team's is better. So because of that, I actually really like this. And some people might not like mend. I understand. You might want to go for shields, or you might want to go for the burst heal comps. But I'm telling you, from a speedrunner who finished 6th in the speedrun for GODFORGE on all 151 floors, mend was enough. You needed mend just to get through certain turns, just to buy you, you know, that extra bit of heal, which would have got you down your cooldowns, and you just clear the waves through anyway, right? So I'm going to put him in S tier. It's going to be a shocker there. I even shocked myself, I'll be real. Next up, Fisher King. When Immortal prevents his hero's death, you increase their HP, attack, defense by 2.5%. Stacks up to 6 times. So this is important for Fisher King. Fisher King does this himself through his kit. Keeps reviving himself. Hercules also does it. There's also heroes in the game that place Phoenix as well as obviously Immortality. So if we scroll up, Phoenix says if the hero is defeated, you revive them with 50% HP, 50% turn meter, right? Immortal prevents the hero's death being from defeated, but keeps them on 1 HP, right? So if you have the Phoenix or if you have the Immortal on there, right, you got to think this actual imprint is going to stack up quite often, especially if you've got the right supports for this team. But again, I do find it very team specific, and I feel like this is one of those imprints that is very, I think it's going to be a very powerful imprint. I think people, including Fisher King, I think Fisher King is going to be super powerful in the game, but the imprint feels too tailored. Meaning, if you're a Hercules player, I think you want this. If you're a Hercules player, having this is going to be super powerful because of how low Divinity your ultimate is. Getting the 500 Divinity, popping it that 10 times or whatever it is, and then getting Immortal through your ultimate very quick. Keep doing it, right? And then getting this online. You're increasing basically your HP and attack and defense. This is good for Herc because, again, being a brawler, you're increasing the 2 main stats that you scale your damage off. You could also potentially call this a good one for maybe like a Grendel, because Grendel has his own ultimate, which increases his own HP, as well as his passive, which is, again, the lower HP he gets, the more speed and initiative he deals. But if, again, you find anyone that can place Immortal on that Grendel as a support, as a weapon, as an effect, as a team, he's gonna cook. But again, everything I've said there is very team specific, and it doesn't feel too wide to get going. But I do think it's a very good imprint, very powerful imprint indeed, right? Moving on then, we got Freya and Fujin, and these two, again, really good, simple actual ones. We've got Cyclone Barrier for Fujin, which is reducing the damage this hero receives from AoE attacks by 15%. And then Freya, when his hero inflicts a critical hit, heal 1,200% initiative on this hero. Well, you got to know already, since we said it earlier on, the Golden Bow gives you extra healing on top. So just think, Freya plus Golden Bow is amazing. Same with the Fang Tian here, up here, reduced the damage of received from AoE attacks, plus the other imprint. Again, you've got these 2 really good epic weapons designed kind of around these 2 imprints. And the beautiful thing about it is, as well, reducing AoE attacks is huge because a lot of good units do area of effect damage. And if you can reduce that by 15%, it will add up. Same with the critical hits healing. This is not bad imprint to put on the bow, because if you're already critical hitting and you've got a decent amount of initiative, you're going to get a big amount of heals consistently. And you got to think, if we have 100% crit and we join attack, or we do any counter attacks out of turn, we're going to be healing up again. So I actually really like the Freya and the Fujin ones. So are they S tier though? I don't know if they're S tier. I think she might be. Fujin though, I think is in that A tier. I honestly think it's in that A tier. He could be potentially S tier though. And the reason why Fusion here and a Cyclone Barrier could be S tier is pretty simple. We knew Fafnir did area of effect damage abilities, and because he did AoE, we can expect a lot more of the bosses, like we saw with Kronos as well, to do area of effect attacks. And since they do area of effect attacks, reducing the damage of a particular hero by 15% of their attacks could be great, right? You could put this Cyclone Barrier, again, on like an Athena, Tristan, whatever you want to do for your defender, Heimdall, right? And making them survive to be able to do their big shields and their big retaliates and their big effects on their core will allow you to potentially push through and win and hit the high damage numbers on the game. So I think that's why we're putting these two in A. It's a bit sad that this is on the hero and not on the allies. If this was on all allies, it'd be a different story altogether, right? Grendel. We mentioned Grendel earlier on. Oh, wow. So, Grendel, for every 20% HP this hero is missing, increase their speed and initiative by 5%. Obviously, for Grendel, this is every 10%. So, basically, I like the skill. It's pretty good for brawlers. But at the same time, I don't like this at all. I really love it for Grendel. It's a fun, it's a berserker-based ability, right? I know what the devs are looking at on this, and they nailed it. They nailed this just someone who wants to run at you, right? And just kill you and never stop. Even when you think they're dead, they just enrage and get even more crazier, right? I can see it. The issue is, though, for majority of heroes, you don't want to be low HP. It's as simple as that, right? Because you got to think, if you are losing 40% of your HP, you're on 60%, you potentially might be in that one-shot area, right? You might get one shot in the game by a different team, and you'll be a bit upset. It's really riding on this knife edge with the Grendel imprint. I think, obviously, it's built for berserker-style brawlers. So, again, maybe like a Hercules would really like this too. Maybe the Fisher King would like this as well, because the Fisher King can become immortal, and every time he becomes immortal, he's stacking more HP and more defense and more attack, and then the more he's getting lower, the quicker he can do things in turn. So that seems like a really good combo. But again, it's a niche combo, and because it's a niche combo, even though I think it's a very powerful ability, I'm not calling it a bad one. It's in the C category. I just don't think it's in this grab, and I know I'm going to be happy with this, right? The next one we're going to do is not one that we've gone through on the list yet, right? We're going to do Ares. People might be like, why haven't you done Ares yet? Or all? It's just because I'm going to go through all of the imprints here on this spreadsheet first, which I know is 100% done correctly. And then anything that's left over are basically imprints that might not be in the GODFORGE quests or might not be updated, but I will still give you my opinion on them. But Ares is another one which I can kind of just showcase why we dislike this ability. Each time an enemy receives a debuff, you increase this hero's chance to strong hit. Well, we already know where that's going. It's just kind of the same as this Dracula stuff. The issue I have with Ares is because the devs brought out precision. I don't care about an imprint anymore that increases my chance to strong hit, because if I really want to do this, I am honestly going to build a team with precision inbuilt. Because if I don't have precision inbuilt, what the hell am I doing? Because you got to think, if I'm building a strong hit team, I want my team to hit as hard as possible. That means the most amount of attack, the most amount of crit, and the most amount of scaling that they might have in their kit for that. Because then I'm going to use a support to place precision on them to guarantee the strong hit, which will be 100% critical chance, right? So that's why I don't think these type of abilities are going to be any good anymore until the devs maybe look at it and address these styles of imprints. So, moving on. Hades and Heimdall. So this is going to be one where I think Hades is going to scare a lot of people. Why do I think this is going to scare a lot of people? Because on the surface, it doesn't seem good. At the start of this hero's turn, 50% chance to place Curse 2 for 1 turn on an enemy with the highest attack. This debuff cannot be dispelled or resisted, and when an enemy under Curse is slain, you have a 35% chance to place Curse 2 for 1 turn on a living enemy with the highest attack. So on paper, this doesn't seem super fun or super insane because it's just placing Curse 2, which we already have seen, allows you to reduce the enemy healing and shielding input basically by 50%, right? So you're reducing that stat. And again, we can showcase this just on here. So if we just find the updated, oh, not even there, we can just do it on this one, right? If we just go down here and go to Curse, 50% reduce and 25% at 1, right? So because of that, it's pretty good. But the real reason it gets really powerful is because of this video. Because we saw this hero. Hell looks insanely good. Like, she actually looks insanely good. The thing is now, if you pick Hell, to me, you need to lock in Hades' imprint. If you don't lock in that imprint, you are having a meme off. Yes, you could imprint on Sun Wukong to make her do more attacks, but to me, this makes more sense because with the Hades imprint, you are always basically trying to guarantee the most amount of uptime on that curse to deal additional damage through her max HP. And what's really powerful about that is when she kills a target, with her ultimate, she will make them turn into a shade, which now attacks with her in joint attacks and kills the enemy. And you gotta think, if the enemy is healing less, it makes that hero a lot better to kill those targets. And especially because you're targeting the highest attack enemy, this is actually a pretty good understanding on where this is going. We are not guesstimating if we're going to land it on the right unit. We are always putting it on the best DPS. And Hell wants that. Hell wants the highest attack unit in her shade team to kill the enemies. So for Hades, I actually think this is a super powerful one, but I think it's specifically for those heroes, like I just said, Hell. And there's going to be other heroes, don't get me wrong, in the game that do want on, curse-based abilities, but with the latest changes to her kit, she looks like the prime candidate for it. And it is going to be a C category imprint. Again, if you are picking Hell, pick Hades. That's the way I'm looking at it, right? That's the way I see it, right? C categories are specific teams, right? Or specific hero kind of combinations. Heimdall, though, is an S tier based ability. We've had this in, and it was super powerful. The fact that any time your hero is under a buff, you have a 25% chance to reflect any debuff. Is this an S tier or is this an A tier? It's very close because the thing is, as you guys know, you can have this on the Heimdall and it makes your team do it. The thing is, being able to have it without a Heimdall is still pretty good. You got to think, anytime a boss places a debuff on you, you do have that chance potentially, while you have like an attack up or a defense up buff on your team, to reflect it back. And we do know you could reflect those debuffs back to bosses. We broke the game in Alpha Wave 3 by reflecting an infinite amount of bleed stacks to Fafnir and blaze stacks to Fafnir through Retaliate and this reflect mechanic of the debuffs. So it does make it a viable option. It really does. How viable is it though, is the question. And I think it's gonna be the king of A's. Meaning, if I could put it in S tier, I would, but I can't, because I need Heimdall to be the gatekeeper and says, look, If you're an imprint and you want to be an S tier imprint, you best be better than me. And that's the way I think it is. Because it's such a good imprint. And again, people can pick this and find this in the game, and they will be happy with the performance, especially if you put it on the right weapons that you're going to have to your disposal that you find throughout the game, right? So moving on, we've got Hell and Hercules. So when an ally or enemy is revived, you increase this hero's attack by 5%. This is up to 10 times, right? On here. And if you look on the spreadsheet, again, this is the same thing. Defeating an enemy increases the turn meter fill effects on this hero by 10%, stacks up to 5 times. Not bad. It's a good turn meter effect, and I actually think out of the turn meter effects that we've had so far, it's actually one of the better ones, and I do think it's an A tier turn meter effect. The issue that I have normally with these imprints, apart from Hell herself, is the fact that her imprint here can stack up to 5 times, and I'm certain between waves, it just removes it. So yes, it's good in the right scenarios, let's say that, right? But the fact that it doesn't have this passively stays on, like Hell has, makes me kind of not want to put it in the S tier. If you do keep the 50% turn meter throughout every wave, it's an S tier. It's S tier, right? Remember that. But because I am under the oppression, it removes the 50% up, or the 30% or the 40% that you've stacked up between each of the instance of waves that you go through on each floor that you might be fighting. I feel like it's not going to be S tier. It's going to be good, but it's not going to be S tier, right? Hercules, though, is... Holy smokes, can we talk about Hercules and the Son of Ra? Because this is one of the imprints on the surface, doesn't seem insanely powerful because it is just a revive. It is just simply preventing the hero's death and heals them up to 50%, right? Preventing death is very important because this is not revive. Remember that. Prevents this hero's death and heals them to 50%. The way this works, if you guys are wondering, is just like Immortal. So if you read Immortal, you prevent a hero from being defeated, and you keep them on 1 HP. So this is the exact same effect what the Son of Zeus is doing, which is important, because it's very, very powerful still, but it doesn't mean you can abuse it. Because the thing is, everyone assumes it works like Phoenix. Phoenix says if the hero is defeated, you revive that hero by 50%. Now, if the Son of Ra imprint here said Phoenix over Immortal, this is going to be an S tier base actual imprint because of the absolute broken mechanics that you're able to do. A good example of this is Quetzalcoatl. Imagine you could have a Quetzalcoatl die, revive 2 enemies, then instantly come back up, and then, guess what? He's on 50% HP, ready to die again and revive another 2 enemies for next round. Very, very powerful, right? You can do some stupid stuff like that. The issue is, though, this is preventing the death. This is not allowing the death to happen and then reviving the unit. And I think because of that, this does change how broken this is. Is it bad? No. No, 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 no. But is it insane? I still think it is. I still think it is, because is it S now? Do you know what? I'll put it in A. I'll put it in A. Because if it did allow the unit to die and then bring them back, when I just said, you know, for argument's sake, Quetzalcoatl, you could do some funky stuff with that, right? You could really do some funky stuff on any sort of hero or god in the game that has any basic on-death passives. You can start making them go absolutely crazy. So to me, 100% got to put Hercules there, right? When we go down, we've got Horus, where this hero is attacked by enemies under Taunt, increase the turn meter of all allies by 2.5%. So I'm going to be a little bit harsh with the Horus one, but I am going to be thinking about this a bit more long term, and I'm going to make a video on it, because I'm going to put it in the C category, But I honestly think this could be one of those imprints that catches everyone out. Why do I think that? Only because this imprint is when his hero's attacked under Taunt. And if I can make a weapon or a hero permanently have Taunt up and permanently make it so they can't die, that in turn reads you increase the turn meter of all allies by 2.5%. No matter what, anytime I'm attacked under Taunt. That is a very, very powerful ability if you are building that team. If you are not building that team and you don't have a taunt-based hero, this is honestly just not going to cut it out, as you can imagine, right? It's nothing like any of these other ones where majority of the healers are mending and they can heal. Majority of the damage dealers are dealing damage and they get free damage output. And same with this, when heroes deal damage, they're basically healing. And any of the A tiers too, it just kind of showcases, like, this has that potential, but we don't know how good these teams are. And because I don't know how good these teams are, I don't want to recommend you guys this up here or up here or up here, right? Maybe, do you know what? I'll put it in the B category because I'm going to put it B because we have no clue how good defender teams are. And I think that's a fair assumption because there is good defender teams. There's Shishi out there that can use defenders to join in attacks, right? There's a lot of teams with like Heimdalls and Horus. You could run Horus with Isis and someone else and it'll just cook, right? It'll absolutely cook. So I do think it's going to be up there. I just don't know how up there it's going to be. And that's going to be one which honestly probably catches me out on this tier list. Kinich Ahu, this hero is damaged, but I'm sorry, guys. I am just not fan of these abilities. I do not want to be under Blaze or Aetherburn to reduce its effectiveness of it by 25%, but then to only increase the damage of my next ability by 5%. If the devs are looking at this, they should be able to see a kind of trend here where, in my opinion, you're making me go under such harsh requirements to get a 5% damage reduction compared to me killing someone, which is so much more easier to do than trying to hit all these weird mechanics that have to be in the team, and I get a 25% increased damage buff. It's not even close. Like, it is not even close, guys. I am sorry to say. And we've got more imprints to go even. You know what I mean? Even the ones that we've skipped over because they're not on here because these are the updated imprints. I want us to go through these first, as you guys know. It doesn't make sense. And a good example of this is Lamash 2. Lamash 2 is a prime example of this. When a hero defeats an enemy, they explode, inflicting basically a 25% attack, which I think is 50% attack, to all enemies, which ignores 100% defense, and it cannot be crit. This is already just an S tier on A tier base ability. This could be S or A, I think, in many people's eyes. Because the way this just reads is, if you're an AoE player, especially like Lamash or Sizzin, and you kill one person with your AoE, you AoE them, and everyone else gets dropped down that little bit less, which makes it easier to go in. Same thing with Zeus. Same thing with Grendel. Same thing with like Gilgamesh or even Beowulf, right? Anytime these hard-hitting DPSs from Epic or even Rare come into the game and can kill something and then lower all their stats and take an extra turn and do it again and do it again and do it again, it adds up, and it's just allowing you to get that extra little bit of chip damage to get to the goal of being able to 100 to 0 someone out. Love it. Absolutely beast of an imprint. Loki, again, when sleep expires, always removed from an enemy, decrease their turn meter by 10%. I think this is going to be super powerful again in PvP, but as you guys imagine, because it's PvP based, and again, I don't see how good other sleep heroes are. We've only seen really the Loki in there. We've not seen any of the epic heroes or rares that might have sleep involved in them too. And because of that, we just don't know how good it is. And it means that you're going to have to play it through a sleep-based team. And just like all of these teams, like the initiative and speed up requirement, just like the fact that you need this constant immortal time, just like the fact that we need to reduce HP, these are very specific comps that you would work the imprint around, right? This imprint is a piece of the puzzle in a big grand scheme team. And if you're not doing that, it's not going to be used anywhere else, right? For my opinion on it, right? MrSneakyy is the same. Unfortunately, MrSneakyy, just like the others, is kind of good in this specific one content that we're most likely going to see her in. But because of that, she's in the C tier. Because, again, I don't really want to restore 10% of destroyed HP when they receive a buff. Like, I honestly could just think of better imprints. I'll be honest. I could just see better imprints. Because the way this reads to me, and maybe the devs want it to be like this, I don't know. But maybe if you could find 4 or 5 MrSneakyys, and then you just cooked them, you know what I mean? You ripped out her soul, and you got 4 or 5 MrSneakyy imprints. And then you had this one set of weapon gear for your team, which all run Endless Night, because you needed that imprint on every weapon to make sure the boss doesn't kill your team. Fair play. But even then, I just don't think you need to do that. Her as a hero, really good and actually does that job on her own. So I don't think imprint wise we care much about it, right? Maybe, you know what? I'll put her on D. Just don't worry about it. I think it's just something that you just do not want to worry about at the moment. And if I'm wrong, I'd love to be wrong. Now, here is one of the real first proper S tier imprints. And this, honestly, almost made me get an S plus category tier, and it is the Morrigan's one. Everyone, including myself, hyping this up, and I know some people are saying, you know, it's not that good, or they're not really understanding why people are excited about this. You need to understand what this reads and what this says in the long scheme of things, right? When an enemy receives a buff, you have a 50% chance to reduce its duration by 1 turn. If the enemy receives a debuff, you have a 50% chance to increase the duration of that by 1 turn. This is such an insane imprint, it's not even close. If you're against Apollo's A1, boom! We apply men to our entire team for 1 turn. But guess what? With Future Sight, you could literally negate, you know, counter and cancel that off with a coin flip. With just a coin flip, you could cancel that. On top of this, if you're playing Bleed, Aetherburn, Blaze, Acid, you could basically place this down with Lady Shock, you know, Ramses, whoever it is, and they're gonna potentially coin flip and increase the duration by 1 turn. And what's really powerful about Future Sight is you don't need to care who has this equipped. That's what's so powerful about it. If you read a lot of the other imprints in this tier list, it's basically increase the healing from Mend by 25%, and this activates this Mend on this hero, right? You know what I'm saying? This is increase on this hero's critical. We get to do, you know, heals. Here we've got when, you know, this is allies, but it's when this hero receives a buff, you reflect the debuff back, right? You've got this hero defeats an enemy, increase turn meter by 50%. Now, this just says if the enemy team tries to do anything, or if you play the game normally, you get rewarded for it. It is just that good. You could put this imprint on any weapon in the game. I would prefer to put this on your Invoker or your defender, and that's only because those are the two units that you might keep in your team as kind of like the core hero. So you might run, like, for example, Athena with like a Blaze team just because she's your defender, right? You might run Athena with a take an extra turn team, right? Because it's Athena, right? And this is where you might put this type of imprint on. So because of that, Future Sight, one of the best, if not the best imprint so far out of all of the list, hands down, number one, right? It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Now, going to the opposite spectrum. Mulan, increase the chance to strong hit by 10% when inflicting damage under Vanish. Well, you guys know already where we are putting her, just like the others, in the D category, because I really do not care about increasing my chance to strong hit because the devs introduced precision. That's all we need to say about that and move on. Oda Nobunaga. Really cool hero in games that I love, but this increases the damage inflicted by this hero by 5%, and you reduce the damage received by 5% each time this hero defeats an enemy, and it stacks up to 5 times. Again, like this. I like this compared to a lot of the other ones in the tier list. Again, it's a selfish buff, a little bit selfish, but look, you got to think, this is a, what, 25% damage increase? And if you're in the right instances, you know, you could have a permanent 25% damage increase on your main DPS for your team, which is huge in the long term of fighting. Yeah, I think this is going to be A tier and maybe S tier. Just because, again, you might, just like the other one, that we did before, between waves, you might lose the stats, right? So just like hell here, you might lose these 5. If you don't lose those 5, both of these heroes are S tier. But because I don't know fully how that interaction works, and I can't remember from Alpha Wave 3, I'm going to place them in A to be safe, because I think both of these are really freaking good. Really freaking good for imprints, man. Pangu! If this hero has more initiative and speed, attack steal 10% turn meter from the target, otherwise they steal 10% divinity from the target. This is simply a C tier build. Just like every single other imprint we've talked about, guys. It's too specific, right? This is kind of the same kind of thing. Look, initiative and speed. You kind of want to run this Pangu in the same team as this Aphrodite, right? Because if you got an Aphrodite increasing his speed and initiative up, and then that's going to help this imprint anyway, you're going to be wanting that, right? So you can see where this is a specific kind of team that runs these two heroes together. But hey ho, do you know what? We'll put her all the way down here and we'll try and jumble these up a bit more closer to where I think the power ranking is. So sadly, Pangu, it is where it is. However, Pazuzu. When an enemy gains a buff, increase this hero's turn meter by 5%. And if the enemy gains 3 buffs in one turn, this hero gains an extra turn. So, really powerful. Really, really powerful. This is an S tier rank imprint. This is the one way, if you got to think, if you're playing like Magic the Gathering, you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, you're playing Hearthstone, imagine you're playing a card game, your team, your opponent's just going off, and you've got that hand trap. You've got the counter spell in your hand. That's what this represents, and I love it. Because if the team if your enemy starts to try and go off, you can punish them by stealing the turn and either killing the unit that they haven't buffed up properly, or just doing some absolute ridiculous debuff or buff stripping on them, right? So I love Tempest Winds, and I'm going to be honest, this is one of my top 3 imprints in the game. This thing is freaking cracked. And you can imagine this is going to be good in PvE and PvP. That's what makes it even better, that it's in both scenarios. I just feel like this is going to be so goddamn good. I had it locked for the longest of time until my Enki came, just because Enki, I have Apollo, so it synergizes a little bit better with my GODFORGE quest setup, right? Moving on, Perun and Ra. So Perun says, when an enemy hero has a turn meter decrease, you increase this turn meter by 2% on this hero. And again, this isn't too bad, but I just think compared to some of the other turn meter effects, there's just better. I like it a lot, but I'm going to put it in the B category. I don't think it's as good as maybe the Anubis one either, because I get to increase the turn meter by 15% whenever I defeat an enemy. We saw how good counterattacks and again joint attacks are, so this is really easy to pull off, and that just seems much better than potentially running like an Izanagi team is a good way of explaining it, and running an Izanagi team with Perun to basically constantly decrease the enemy's turn meter, which makes then your Perun or whoever has Storm Surge climb up in the turn meter to then do their big bonk and blow up people up. But hey, that's where we go. Rather, when Blaze on allies or enemies activates, expires, or is removed, you increase the damage of the next ultimate by 5%. Pretty good. Not gonna lie, but it's a C tier imprint. If you are building Blaze-based teams, if you're picking Ra as your hero, whatever you're gonna do, if you're picking this Blaze-based team, obviously you're gonna pick this Ra one. But again, I don't like it. It's only this small amount of, it's this small amount. 5% is nothing. I'm sorry. It just isn't nothing. Especially when I can get bigger, amounts on attacks. And certain attacks just hit harder than certain ultimates. It's just a sad reality check, right? Shamash. When an ally joins his hero in attack, increase their divinity by 25. Now, this is A tier and maybe potentially S tier one. I absolutely love this one. It's right up there with obviously Heimdall, because there's many joint attack teams, many joint attack teams in the game that you can run, including Shamash being one of them. And the fact that you can make people, gain more divinity when they join this hero in attack is just fantastic. You can put Blaze and divinity on obviously like Vivian, Aphrodite, and that's going to make them work even better than they already do with joint attackers. So it's a simple one now. I don't think I have to go too in depth how good that one is for everyone. Same with the next one. This is probably another, if you guys have not guessed it, top 3. Sun Wukong plays Immortal on his hero for 2 turns when receiving fatal damage for the first time, but you also have a 25% chance to join allies attack, which is just absolutely fucking rude. I am sorry for the language, but if there is a dev out there and you want to make this actually fair, please just remove maybe this. Just remove that line of text, or make it 10% chance to join in attack, because a 1 in 4 to join in attacks is gonna be just beautiful, on top of having a free Immortal on this hero for 2 turns. You can put this literal one on most heroes, right? Basically any hero in the game that has a really good basic and a, just doesn't want to die is what you want. So just think Anubis, really good basic. Apollo, really good basic, right? Even Hercules, really good basic, right? But he already has Immortal into his kit, so you don't really need that, right? So really powerful. Did have to put that anyway. Top 3 imprint in the game, easy. Tianlong, this is one of the newer ones. When his hero intercepts an attack, you heal the ally attacked and place a barrier on them. Now, I freaking love this thing. This, I actually think, is an S tier imprint. And the reason is, if you've pulled Heimdall as your GODFORGE quest hero, you should be looking for Tianlong, right? Tianlong is literally for that Heimdall, because you get to place intercept and retaliate and thingy on all your team, and you place a shield on them from Heimdall. So that means now whenever we do what we need to do, guess what? We heal the ally who got attacked and we get to place a barrier on them, which is doubling up barrier plus shield. Love it. Absolutely huge. Love this imprint. If you could put intercept on many other heroes in epic categories too, it is great. So definitely S tier up there. Tlack Lock. This is each hit from this hero has a 25% chance to inflict extra damage to a random enemy for 10% of the damage inflicted. So this is going to be interesting because I think a lot of people are trying to check this one out. This is one of the only few weapons, because it says each hit from this hero has a 25% chance to inflict extra damage to a random enemy for 10% of the damage inflicted. Which means if you're running Wukong, if you're running Perun, these guys that can hit 8 times, 7 times onto a target, it's gonna trigger on each hit. It's not on the attack, which is very important, right? So I think this is one of the only few imprints that can do this, which is very, very good. Is it game breaking though? I don't know. Maybe it's a lot stronger than we think, and it could be the same as Lamash. Because you got to think, if I have, it's a 25% chance though. Do you know what? Because of that, actually no, it's A. It's A. It's high up there though. It's high up on the A, because I get a 1 in 4 chance of getting that 10% extra damage proc, which is, it's going to be nice when it goes off. This is just guaranteed, right? I defeat an enemy, I guarantee this. This is a 25% chance, but it's more damage. So really good. I think both of these heroes or imprints could be S or A, but until we get to try them out properly in game and see how they perform, we wouldn't be able to actually give, you know, proper evaluation, right? So now we've got Vivian. When this hero inflicts 10% increased damage with their basics, and then when it is a join attack, it is doubled. This is up here as well. These are technically like my top 5 actual imprints in the game, because the fact that your basic ability is getting a 3 damage amp is unfair, and the fact that when you join attacks you double it up, so it's a 20% damage amp, is crazy. Because you got to think Sizzin AoE, Hercules AoE, even Grendel, Zeus, any of those guys. I'm trying to think who else could be really good with this, like even like early game, Guan Yu, your Ramses, your Shock, again, all just hitting harder whenever they join attacks, and just generally hitting attacks it's really good. It's just really freaking good, right? The only thing is, you gotta remember, this is on the hero specific, right? This hero. So you gotta find the right heroes for it. Do you know what, actually? Do you know what? Because of that, I'm gonna put it down here. No, I lied. It's not. I've had, again, this is why I love these tier lists, and as we do them, because I have these certain epiphanies at the time. And this is too one-dimensional. Vivian's passive is really good. It's really good, right? But this is it's just singular hero again, and it's 10% damage, and then with the joint attacks, it's 20%. So it's better than a C category, because you don't need the joint attack teams, because you already get the damage buff. But when you do get the damage from the joint attack teams, you get it doubled up. So yeah, no, A tier. I changed my mind, not S. It's going down a chunk, just because it's individually one hero and not the allies of it all, right? So we got the E-Drag Gok. This is a Welsh name. If you guys are wondering how to pronounce it, it's E-Drag Gok. I know it's a weird one. You got to have the in there. If you're Scouse, you should be a master at it. But the E-Drag Gok passive ability inflicts 15% more damage and receives 15% less damage from under Blaze and Aetherburn. If you've not guessed it, this is again just like before, like Ra. If you're playing Blaze-based teams and Aetherburn-based teams, really good imprint for those teams. but it's for those teams. If you're not going to build that team and you're not setting out to build it, it's not going to be great. And again, I don't think you can just whack this on anyone, right? You have to be playing that one team. And compared to anything else, you know, we could have a YDG and we could put on a Sun Wukong imprint and make YDG immortal and attack more in turn because of the joint attacks, which means he can place more blazes and do more defense downs or whatever, right? It's just infinitely better, infinitely better. Mr. Yan Wang, when an enemy dies, increases hero's initiative. This did get, I believe, changed. So if you go over to this page, you can see now increases hero's initiative by 2%. It stacks up to 30% after placing a debuff. So if you're making debuff based teams, you can get basically 15% extra initiative, and it isn't too shabby at all when it comes to doing that, right? But is it going to be game breaking that you should be picking this over anything else? No. But I do think it's a good jack of all trades, really good B tier actual imprint. Just having 50% increase initiative just for placing debuffs. Bro, if you're a Pandora placing debuffs and spreading them, you're going to be happy as days, you know? Ymir is the next one, and then we've got Zeus as the last one before we move on to the remaining amounts that hasn't had any changes or updates, and we're just going to be taking the Raven Pirates info for now, right? So Ymir says when this hero is attacked, has a 25% chance to place freeze on the enemy for 1 turn. And the thing is, I actually think this is a really cool imprint, and I think this is kind of similar to one of the imprints earlier on, but better because of Taunt. If you're able to have a Taunt based hero and they get attacked and you can place freeze on the target that attacked them, that basically means you buy yourself 1 turn out of Taunt and it can keep up and then you can do it again, right? And that is huge because if you can stop them from attacking, you can freeze them, you're going to be able to, again, shield up, heal up, and basically keep sustaining throughout the fight. So I think this actually is going to surprise a lot of people, but I'm going to put this at the bottom of the A tier. I think Ymir's actual ability to make Taunt-based teams work really well and have a free base, you know, bit of crowd control through the disable is going to be quite good. You got to think Skadi was really good placing freeze with her double attacks and the AoE attack that she had. So I can imagine this being really good too in the right team with the obviously good defenders with taunts. Maybe because of that, yeah, because of that, I'll put it C. I'll just be fair with all of the other stuff that we've done. I think it's a B power, an A power imprint, but because you need a team with taunts, and we don't know how good taunt-based teams are, we'll place it in the C category for now. However, I will bump it all the way up into this. I think it's actually really good. It's better than the Hades because that's only specifically really for Hell. Better than the Grendels for the Brawler teams. And yeah, definitely. It feels a lot more comfortable there. Zeus. When a hero is defeats an enemy, the next attack of each ally will inflict 15% increased damage. When we look on here, it's the same. So we know these are two of the same. Now, this is quite disgusting because in joint attack combos, this is going to go absolutely nuts because it's each attack of each ally. So next attack of each ally means you get 3 instances of 15% increased damage when your main DPS deals damage. Yeah, nah, this is up there. This is up there. This is better than the Artemis one because the Artemis is 25% increased damage singular onto herself, while this is 15%, which is less, but it's for everyone. Everyone gets this because you've defeated the hero. Yeah, nah, I like that. I really like that. These two are very close together, but I think the Zeus takes it out on top on the Artemis. So now all we've got are these remaining legendaries. We've got, what, 11 remaining, and we're going to just use the Raven Pyros website. So if any of these are not up to date, I do apologize to you guys, but we're going to be using what is here. So Legendary Age of Rebirth. When this hero is defeated, revive one ally with 50% HP and increase their initiative by 5%, stacking up to 3 times, occurs once per wave. So again, this one is very powerful imprint. Very powerful imprint. But I don't believe you can get the Quetzalcoatl imprint in GODFORGE quests. I just don't think you can. However, since we are just overall ranking these imprints in general, though, too, I am going to put this in the S tier. It is freaking insane that you can put this imprint on literally Apollo, on any sort of invoker, and get a free revive built into that hero's kit. And you got to think, if your invoker didn't have a revive built into their kit, this must mean they are super strong with their core, ultimate, and basic kit that they already have, and that's why they don't get a revive. So just think, having that is huge. Izanagi, for every 10 buffs placed on this enemy team, adds this hero's basic ability against the enemy team with the highest turn meter. So again, really good if you can figure out a team around this, but I don't know how good this is going to be. How good can you really cycle these buffs constantly at a super high rate to get this going? So just for now, I'll put this in the C category, but I'll put it in the very high C category because, again, if we can make a team rotate around, guess what? We can really make the turn meter of our team and make our basic ability damage go quite high, right, with our team. A new, again, not the greatest, for every 10% divinity on this hero, reduce the damage this hero receives by 1.5%. That means 100% divinity, right? You're going to have 15% ultimate, 15% damage reduction. Pretty good if you are just not wanting to die, but if you need to use your ultimate, it seems counterproductive. So I'll put it in A category, and the reason why we'll put it in A category, because even if you use your ultimate and you're at 0% and then you start working your way up, you're still naturally going to gain some damage reduction, and if you put that on a defender, it's going to be good over nothing, so I can't put it lower than A. And do you know what? Actually, I can. I'm going to put it in freaking B. Hell, why not? Why not? Let's trigger some of you guys in the comment section. When attacking enemies under initiative down, decrease that... yeah. Don't worry about that, Izanami. Brutal, I know, but it's just when, again, I'm hit with a condition. I need to build around this team, and then I'm reducing the turn meter by only 2.5%. It's not worth it in my eyes. Eye of the Storm. This is Raging imprint. When an enemy receives a debuff, 50% chance to shock them, inflicting 100% attack, which cannot be critical and ignores defense. So again, I actually really like this one, right? I'm going to put this in the S tier. And I know it's going to shock a lot of people, but I put it in the S tier. But before you rage, hear me out. When an enemy receives a debuff, you have a 50% chance to basically do 100% attack, and it's ignoring the defense, and it can't crit, right? So basically what this is saying is, if you play Blaze, if you play Burn, if you play basically damage over time, you know, teams, if you put Eye of the Storm on someone like your support or your defender, they become this utility DPS that's rewarding your DPS for placing debuffs, aka bleeds, aether burns, blazes, acids, right, onto a target and getting that extra bit of damage inflicted onto them while it's there. So I actually think this is quite cool. It's a really cool one. I think this might shock a lot of people, no pun intended, but really, really cool ability for people there. Each time an ally uses an ultimate, decrease the damage received by all allies by 3%. I'm sorry, guys. I know. Do you know what? We'll put Raijin in the 8th category. Let's keep the S a little bit not as long. But you have to, right? That's insane. That's just insane. If people don't know, in Alpha Wave 3, you are literally chaining like 2 or 3 ultimates in one turn, and then probably doing it again the next turn. So you're going to get a 15% damage reduction on all your allies now each time any of them use an ultimate. Yeah, all right then. Take that every day of the week. Ices at the start of this hero turn, remove all debuffs and disables from the ally with the lowest HP and then heal them equal to 5% of this hero's max HP. It's actually a pretty good one. It's in the A category here for us because the thing is with Isis, it's just a good healing based thing. It's basically the same with like Athena and the same with like Hercules, where it's just some really good support utility. It keeps you alive, it keeps you going, you know, it doesn't break the bank, but you wouldn't be disappointed to have it, right? Final 4, Prophetic Wisdom. Whenever an ally uses a core ability, increase the damage of their core ability by 5% and it stacks on each wave. Again, this is up there. This is just like the Svarog one, what we just saw, but the opposite. It's the damage version instead of the damage reduction. And it applies on any of the allies. So you got to think you could put this imprint on any good weapon that you want, on any good hero that's always part of your team, and guess what, they're always going to be benefiting it because everyone's going to use their core ability and get 5% each time. Yes, it resets on each wave, but just think, as soon as you go into a boss, it doesn't reset. You're just going to keep increasing this damage by 5%. Obviously, this stacks, I think, up to like 3 or 5 times. I don't believe this infinitely stacks, but it's still super freaking powerful to have that in your team compared to some of the others that you could have on there. Sorcerer's Edict. This hero gains bonus effects when the debuff activates. So if you're placing either A for Burn, you increase this hero's Divinity by 25. If you place Blaze and that does its thing and deals damage, you increase this hero's next core ability by 2.5. The Acid, Bleed again. I'm going to be honest, this is a really good, powerful ability for Morrigan Le Fay. However, the issue I have with it is literally for Morrigan Le Fay. I think a lot of people are getting really turned up and think this is a really good imprint, but to me, it's too specific, and I actually don't like it. I'm actually going to put it really down here with these guys. I think it's better than these two because technically it is that one jack of all trades, damage over time based imprint. But if you're not playing that, you don't like it. And at the same time, if you're not placing these certain things, you're not too happy. The only one that you might enjoy is Sizzin. Sizzin can place Blaze, which increases his next core ability, which is another AoE, which will help him. And since he places Acid, he also increases his turn meter by 5%. So that's like some of those, you know, niche scenarios, but you want a hero that can basically do at least 2 or 3 of these effects properly all the time to really get this, and I just don't think there's enough of those heroes right now in the game. Final 2, Odin. We've got when damage is inflicted on an enemy by their ally, this is basically through Confuse, you steal 5% of the damage enemy's turn meter. This is a really good one. I'm actually going to put this in the B category because it is a really powerful effect. Confuse is really good. We used it on Mordred, and obviously we used it on Odin. And because you can confuse and steal turn meter, means you can kind of potentially keep this going on your team and keep, you know, repeating and refreshing it. So I quite like it. It's not too shabby, but it's not, I think, as insane as any of these S or A tier imprints. Going into the final one now is Sphinx. If an ally is under Vanish, they have a 25% chance to reflect debuffs and disable. All right, so this is the harsh reality on it, right? Vanish cannot be directly targeted with attacks. The issue with Vanish is it doesn't stop AoE, right? It just doesn't. That's what Ward does. Ward reduces damage received by 100%, and that's what you want. You want it so that person doesn't get killed, and that's either through single targets or AoE. Ward does that. Vanish just doesn't. Vanish gives you this opportunity to try and not die, and if you get through, you get through, and some Vanish heroes get steroids to do with being in Vanish. But most of the time, if you're vanishing in and you're low HP, you're going to get AoE'd, you're going to die, and you're just not going to get the value out of it. So to me, sadly, it is going to go down in the D category. But that does make it technically every single legendary imprint there concluded in what I would consider the strongest to the maybe least strongest imprints in the game, but what I would say is the S and A tier imprints. If you want to build any team and go for these certain imprints, you can. Just make sure you listen to what I said about them. B categories are like your average ones. C are the ones that if you're going to build a specific team or you want to build a specific hero, these C imprints are probably the ones for you. And then the D ones are actually what I'm going to consider the dog shit ones. I'm sorry, the dog shit. I just don't like them. I just think they should get amped up in some regards, and I do apologize for saying that, but it is what it is. But that's all my imprints. Now you know every single imprint in GODFORGE, and obviously GODFORGE quests. Some of these imprints obviously may not be available in GODFORGE quests, but it does mean in the future when we play early access, if you're doing any of the events, if you pull any of these heroes, and you might not want the hero, but you might get the imprint, here is a little list for you guys. So that is everything. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And if you want to join my Pantheon Camp Half-Blood, that will also be in the description down below. Just click on that Discord link. Join us. Let us know what type of Pantheon you want to join, and we will have a home for you. And until the next one, stay safe, guys. Stay sneaky. Peace out.